Happy to bring our buddy Bobby Gerould in here. Bobby, one, always tremendous to talk to. Two, is a genius around this type of year because Kenny asked, like, who's watching, G League basketball? Well, Bobby.
Yeah.
Bobby is absolutely watching.
That's 100%.
Bobby's watching G League basketball. Bobby's watching Alabama basketball. Bobby's watching some random basketball league we don't know exists. Only Bobby knows that exists. Bobby's a basketball junkie, man. Good to have you, man. We missed you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk with you here this afternoon about the draft and NBA stuff. And you're right. I am one of the few people who's seen Scoot live. Actually, I was hoping I would have seen him twice live. As I went to the G League Showcase this year, and unfortunately he was injured at the time, so he didn't play. So I only got to see him play when he was a year younger, the previous season there in Las Vegas at the G League Showcase. But he's a special player in my opinion. I haven't seen too many people with his athletic profile come through the NBA at that position with the force and speed and explosion that he plays with. I really think he's a special guy.
So real quick, this is me. I just noticed, Bobby, you're talking into a microphone. Is there any chance your microphone isn't connected? It sounds like you're talking through the laptop speaker, the computer speaker.
All right, let me see if
I'll give you a quick second to check on that. I thought that was Bobby's intent until I saw him pull the microphone closer to it. I was like, oh, Bobby's got a microphone. Let's get our man Bobby set up here. Of course, for those that are watching, you see Bobby probably got a good couple thousand vinyls around him. He's got an elite audio setup right here.
Is this any better?
No, it sounds exactly the same, but that's okay. That's okay. We could write. It doesn't sound bad. I just wanted to make sure we maximize the Bobby Gerould experience. Okay?
I hear you, and I don't know what I'm gonna get on your settings here with the audio.
Well, and it could be that sometimes the settings don't automatically pick things up. So that's just part of the game.
How about this?
There he is.
Yeah, there he is.
Listen to those sultry sounds of Bobby Gerould right there. That's good.
You just got to check the settings. That's all.
That's all it is.
I'm supposed to be the audio guy, and I'm up here messing up.
No, that's all good, baby.
You're good, big dog. During the break, we kind of got into a discussion. I was like, man, let's save this so everybody could hear about these rumors of Pascal Siakam and the Kings being interested in OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. And really, because you asked us about it, and my thing with that, Bobby, is if you go and get Pascal, which I'm not against, like he's a heck of a ball player. I think he would help out a lot. You would be saying to yourself, if you're the Sacramento Kings, Monty McNair, Mike Brown, all these guys, that we are fully confident that Keegan Murray is a 3 in this league. And I'm not there yet. I'm closer to it than I was at the beginning of last year, because I heard people talking about Chris Middleton and he could be there. I was like, you guys are great. He don't handle the ball good enough. There's not a good enough shot creation. No. And as the season went along, I saw things from him that said, well, maybe he could get there, but I'm not there yet. What do you think about the prospects of if you had a power forward like Siakam or a PJ Washington putting Keegan as a 3? You think he has that in him?
I think he could play the position. Are you more worried about defensively or offensively? Just from the
defensively, there was early in the season, there was times when he just wasn't quick enough to keep up with some of these guys on the wing. That concerned me a little bit. Shot creation a little bit earlier in the season. But like I said, as the season went along, I saw more from him that said, maybe he could do this. Maybe he could, maybe not right away, but maybe he could do this at some point in his career.
I kind of wonder if the Kings were to land a Siakam, if Murray would even be on the team, because I feel like if you're getting Siakam, you're probably going to have to give up something, right? I mean, so, I'm not sure exactly how that would all shake out. I'd be a little bit concerned about the shot making. Like Siakam's, I think he's just below the threshold on 3-point shooting, is like a 32% shooter, if my memory serves. But with the Kings, as we've seen, I think their offense creates more open 3-point shots really than any team in the NBA. And so you go from taking difficult contested shots because you're on the Raptors with, basically a bunch of guys who can't shoot other than Fred VanVleet, to the Kings where you've got all these guys that can shoot. There'd be better spacing. Maybe Siakam, takes a step of a couple percentage points up, and it could really work. I think it's interesting. He's an awfully good player, and then OG Anunoby, I hear the talk about him too. I really love his defensive ability. Not quite the offensive player that Siakam is, but still, nevertheless, I think it'd be a pretty clear signal that you're moving all your chips in and saying, hey, we have a window now with Fox and Sabonis, and we need to get this done. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because I'm not sure that there's anybody with the 24th pick that is going to make you take that next step. You have to kind of be realistic, don't you think, about what the 24th pick actually is. Not to say that there aren't players you could get there, because history has shown us that here some of the guys that are after 24th in the past couple years: Herb Jones, Cam Thomas, Bones Highland, Emmanuel Quickly, Jaden McDaniels, Desmond Bain, your guy Jordan Poole, a bunch of guys after 24th that have been there. So there are some available players usually, but there's also a lot of times where you're going to strike out, at the 24th pick and just get someone who doesn't make a huge impact. So I'd be curious to know what you guys think about, are you thinking let's get a little more aggressive and trade this pick and try to get a veteran there? Or would you like to grow it organically and which I think is probably better for chemistry?
I'm good either way. I like there are players that I like, but I agree with exactly what you just said. Like, I think Monty McNair is trying to open a championship window here. And I think he told us as much in his postseason press conference. Like, this is like making the playoffs is fine. 48 wins, like, that's fine. We need to be a 50-plus win team, because 50-plus win teams are the teams that compete for a championship. And that's our goal. And the player, we talk about Siakam. I know Siakam's a really good ball player. I haven't rationalize what a deal involving Siakam and OG Anunoby to Sacramento would look like. That's just way too stressful to think about. But I did allow myself to get excited on the OG Anunoby prospect, knowing that the Sacramento Kings were pursuing OG Anunoby, knowing that they were aggressively pursuing him. I allowed myself to get a little excited about that, because I do believe OG really helps Sacramento, and as a number of people will tell you, and Bobby, I think you just laid that out, he is the perfect fit for this team. I don't know how much 24 plays into that, though. That's the weird thing. Normally with the Kings, we're talking 4, 7, 11. We're talking something like that, and that's going to always be incorporated in a trade. I don't know how much 24 does. Not that I'm not suggesting like it doesn't, and if these conversations are ongoing, that Toronto wouldn't ask for it. But I also wonder if people don't look at the Sacramento Kings like, now we still don't believe you. We still don't buy what we saw last year. Fix those pick protections with Atlanta, and let's start getting some first rounders over the course of the next couple of years. Then maybe we could get a deal. But I'm not sure.
I feel like I'm doing the interview here because I want to know KC's opinion on this. So from a chemistry standpoint, I've always felt, and I wonder if you guys think the same, that it's, chemistry can be a fragile thing. And right now, I think the Kings have it. You see the good vibes. You see Uncle Keegan out with De'Aaron's kid. And you genuinely get the feel that these guys care for each other and like each other. And if you draft someone 24th, it's expected. The veterans know that, they feel less threatened because it's a rookie coming in. Whereas if you trade that 24th pick and you bring in a veteran, and especially someone who's going to score and want the ball and all the things that, might come with just a veteran NBA player, I think is a little different situation as far as the chemistry is concerned. So KC, where would you be at on something like that? Would you be afraid that if they did move off Keegan in the way they moved off Tyrese Halliburton to make the team better ultimately, and it worked out, but would you be worried about affecting that chemistry?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I don't think I'm moving off Keegan Murray for anybody that did not play in that mid-February Classic and Sunday in Salt Lake City.
Uh-huh.
Like if you weren't on that stage being picked by LeBron or Giannis,
Uh-huh.
I'm probably not moving
Gotcha.
Keegan Murray for you, or if you weren't in consideration for it at the
Mm.
very least. So I'm not really interested in moving Keegan. One of the reasons for that, we've talked about it, is not only I think Keegan Murray is a good ball player and has a lot of upside, is if I want to continue this thing and possibly be aggressive, getting guys like I was really interested in the Bradley Beal situation, I'm going to need a really good ball player like Keegan Murray on that rookie contract. You know what I mean? So I can't maybe bring in Pascal Siakam and then look to bring in a Paul George. Like the money's getting crazy at that point.
Sure.
So the value of the contract, the rookie contract that Keegan Murray is on, is another reason why I wouldn't move on from him. When you talk about the chemistry, yeah, that's definitely a concern. I think there's room for one, maybe more than one outsider to come in. Like I'm interested in Dillon Brooks. You know, I look at Dillon Brooks, maybe not as like a starting small forward guy, but as a guy coming off the bench. Bobby's saying no. Bobby's saying no.
Bobby
I'm
grinned
interested
ear from ear to ear,
I'm
ear to ear when
interested
you said that.
in Dillon, man. And I think you can bring in a guy like Dillon. Here's why I say that. I think the locker room is strong enough now where you can bring in a guy like Dillon and he can conform to what this locker room is, not come in and think he's taking over the locker room like some guys could in the past. Because, this isn't a strong locker room. I'm going to come here and impose my will and the way I go about things on this locker room. That's not happening here, I don't think, in this situation. Not with not only the players, but a guy like Mike Brown. That's not happening. I think a guy like Dillon Brooks will come in and fall in line with the way things go here. So I think you can get one of those guys. I don't think you want to get like two or three of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the locker room is strong nowadays where you can afford that. What you think?
I'm obviously not a Dillon Brooks guy. It's
Couldn't tell.
Couldn't tell.
Couldn't tell.
Couldn't tell. Yeah, there's just some guys for me that are just a no from the get go, and it's just from the antics and stuff like that. I just think he's silly. Like I wouldn't want Draymond Green on my team either. You know, that's just me. That's just me. It just wouldn't. And there's plenty of guys. I wouldn't want Myers Leonard on my team. I wouldn't want there's a ton of different guys that I wouldn't want on my team. And that's, you know, and again, that does speak to chemistry. But I hear what you're saying though. I mean, I think the locker room is strong with Mike Brown and the leadership, and maybe Dillon Brooks would fall in line. I'm also just not in love with Dillon Brooks as a ball player, honestly. I think he's a good defender. I think he takes really bad shots. I don't think he's a great shooter. Just not my guy.
Yeah. What do you think? What's the best way you think, Bobby, to improve this basketball team? Like what opens, if our assessment or my assessment of Monty's postseason press conference is accurate, and he's talking about opening up a championship window here, what do you think the best route is for the Kings to do that?
I still think they could be better, you know, on the wings, definitely wing defense. You know, and so I'd want to know what the deal is with Sasha Vezenkov. You know, is he coming? That would have a lot of effect on, I think, a lot of things. You know, what happens with Harrison Barnes could depend on what happens with Sasha Vezenkov. I'd love to see them re-sign Trey Lyles. I thought he was really solid in his role. So I'd like to see him come back. I'd like to see him get a better backup option at the center position. You know, Alex Lynn, Keita, Metu, Trey Lyles, they kind of all did it by, you know, a little bit of you do it one night and you do it another night. And I feel like they could be better and stronger there. You know, maybe you can address that situation in the draft. I think Trace Jackson Davis is really intriguing. He's small, he has narrow shoulders, but he plays with force, and he has good hands, runs the floor well. You know, I don't know that he'll ever be a starting big in the NBA, but he's a center to me. Like, I see a lot of people wanting to put him in a forward box because of his size, and I believe he can get down and guard some fours and possibly even some threes because he has decent foot speed. But offensively, you know, he attempted 3-point shots in 4 years of college. So, you know, I think it's unreasonable to expect him to just come into the NBA and suddenly be a 3-point shooter. So to me, you know, he's a back to the basket type center or a high post center that can really pass. I could see him being a step up as a backup center. I'd like to see the option. I love Davion. You know, his defense is great. I think he's what you want in an NBA player. He's all about the work, the process, the team. And he was important for the Kings, I thought, on many nights last year. But I would like to see them have the option of having another point guard who can score, who can come in and, you know, on one night, maybe instead of having Davion come in and be a lockup type point guard as a backup, I'd like to see them have someone who could come in and light it up a little bit, you know, from behind that spot. I'd love to see Malik Monk get more minutes somehow. I don't know how that happens, but I'd love to see him get more minutes. I just thought he was really important to the team. Last year, I thought they played their best basketball when Monk and Fox were together. So, you know, it's interesting to see how it's all going to go down, what's going to happen. That 24th pick, one of the things that's been interesting to me in the last few days is to see a lot of mock drafts having Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State drop. To me, he's a lottery talent. He's someone I really like, and that I would be all about with the 24th pick if he somehow slipped there. It might not be the best fit, but figure it out later, because that guy gets buckets, man. He's a for real 3-point shooter. He's a scorer. He has a scorer's mentality. And yeah, he's not the perfect basketball player. He's a little tunnel vision. Maybe doesn't play the greatest defense, but man, this dude gets buckets, and you just can't ignore that sometimes.
Why do you think he's fallen?
I don't know.
He's one of the first guys we talked about too.
Well, he had a knee injury late in the season, and so he didn't get to perform at the camp. He didn't go through any of the athletic testing, and so I don't know that he's been able to work out for people. So maybe out of sight, out of mind. But also you would expect NBA teams to be better than that. I mean, you've got to do your due diligence and know what this guy was capable of when he was healthy. And maybe people are just turned off by the tunnel vision, because he definitely is out. He's out to get buckets for Bryce Sensabaugh. You know, we've all played with guys like that before, but at some point, you know, at some point, you know, 24th, I just think the talent is there's too much talent and too much skill, too much bucket getter in him to last past 24th.
Yeah, I like his game, man. I really do. When you talk about the 2 second round picks, there should be a third round at some point, but the 2 second round picks, there's 2 guys that we've talked about a lot on here that look like they're going to be around, and that's Jalen Wilson and Keontae Johnson. Do you see either one of those guys being a good fit for the Kings, especially with a second round pick?
You know, I have Jalen Wilson rated higher than Keontae Johnson, but I like Keontae Johnson's game better than Jalen Wilson, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen, it's always tough for me with Kansas players, because I think it's easier for a Kansas forward to shine than a lot of other players. It's just one of those positions where Bill Self, the way his offense works, they're gonna get buckets for their forwards. People who go way back with the Kings will remember Dick Motta as a coach, and if you were a forward on a Dick Motta coach team, you were gonna score, because that's the way he ran his offense. And that's the first thing they would do, is they're looking for Jalen Wilson in the mid post, Jalen Wilson out on the wing. He was a high usage guy that I don't think will be a high usage guy in the NBA. So that kind of be my take there. And then Keontae Johnson, I feel like he's just a blender. I felt like he fits in kind of seamlessly. He doesn't need the ball, plays defense, a little undersized, probably because he'll probably be a 4 in the NBA. But I did like his game, and I thought he benefited from playing with Marquise Noel, who really set him up well and made him look good. But he can do a lot of things, maybe some PJ Tucker vibes, you know, in a junior type way.
Bobby, 24 pick rolls around tomorrow night, and Chris Murray's on the board. What do you do? Are you in on this Murray twins here in Sacramento, or do you dig Chris's game? Like, where do you stand on the Chris Murray phenomenon?
I do like Chris. I think, the first thing people will notice right away is he's a lefty version of Keegan, basically. If you look at him, but for me, it would depend on who's there. Like if Bryce Sensabaugh is there, I like him better. I like the kid out of Santa Clara, Pajimski. Little concerned about his athleticism, but I like him. I like Noah Clowney as maybe a little bit of a long-term project type guy. And I like Chris Murray, though. I mean, Chris, there's really not a lot of holes in his game. He reminds you a lot of Keegan. He cuts, he finishes, he can score in the post, he can shoot from the outside. He's a really good player. So if that was the pick, I wouldn't be mad. I put it that way. But yeah, I know you guys have had a lot of fun with where he's been mocked. It seems like every team or every mock drafter just assumes, okay, Chris Murray, you're going to Sacramento.
Well, and then we go to read, okay, what do they think about Chris Murray and why? And most of the write-ups have just been, why not? You drafted Keegan, why not take Chris?
And yeah, I mean, he'd give you another. Everyone could use a versatile 6'8" wing, in the NBA.
And
so
that's what it boils down to. You just said, a couple of minutes ago, and this isn't exactly a well-kept secret. And for people who cover the NBA, there's still a wing depth issue in Sacramento. It's just not one of the other 24 wings that might be available in the first round. It's got to be Chris.
Right.
Got to be Chris.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times, I think you guys hit right on it earlier. There's a handful of people that cover the NBA draft or that really get into it, that are truly really into it, that go to the events and follow it from the beginning of the college basketball season all the way through. And then there's a handful of people who got assigned the job of, hey, you're in charge of our mock draft. And, they talk to their friend who is the third scout for some team, and they talk to one other dude, and they're like, cool, I got my mock draft ready to go. And then they check out what everybody else is saying. What's Wasserman saying? What's Jonathan Gavoni saying? And so I think there's a lot of that stuff. And that's why we see stuff repeated. And that's why we see a lot of mistakes too. I think the media is as you two know this, I mean, the media is a powerful, powerful thing, and an agent, who knows how many of these guys are getting a little sluff from, a little payola from some of the agents or whatever. It's like, hey, talk good about my guy. I got you a favor coming. I got you a secret coming. I've got
That's
you.
literally the business.
Right. Right.
That is literally the entire business.
Right. So, you got guys that are writing for major media outlets whose family are in the agent business, so you got to weed through it, man, and try to just go with whatever you feel. I think, Damian, you hit it right earlier. I heard you saying that there isn't a GM out there that's listening to a media person and having their needle move by what a media member says. I agree with that. At this point, you're so entrenched in it. You're probably not changing too many opinions unless something's just really close.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that Jennifer Lopez over your shoulder?
That's Sade.
I thought that was. Oh, I thought it was Kawapale at first.
Well, I had WAP last time I was on with you, but that's
so I knew Jennifer Lopez doesn't fit what Bobby Gerould would do. Okay, now, man, that is okay.
Sade by your side.
Watch that.
Queen. Big up to the queen. Did you go see Erykah Badu yesterday?
Back in the old days, you had to write your beats per minute sticker and right before Serato.
Kids don't know anything about
No,
that.
they don't. You had to time it out. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah. Not that deep. Mixing is still very much a skill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier now.
Yeah.
Oh man, they got a stupid sync button on it now, Damian. You don't even have to do.
Well, that means I can do it. I tried to do it. I wanted to learn with records. I tried to do it with records. But my thing would be where, like, Charlie, one of the baddest DJs I ever met, DJ Charlie Ramos, he was trying to teach me, be like, when you let go of the record, you're like pushing it and it's throwing things off of sync. you're acting like you're Jam Master Jay. Don't beat Jam Master Jay. Set the record and let it go. You'll get to all that other stuff later.
Yeah.
But I wanted to push the record.
Right.
It would just be completely off sync. Yeah, it'd be. I sucked, Bobby. It was terrible.
Man, mixing
Now
is
I'm mad that I publicly said, "Is that Jennifer Lopez?" and it was Sade. I just lost all credibility in the music world with that.
Hey, I can see the resemblance, and we're only getting one eye there on this picture of Sade for the people who are out there in radio land.
There's
that can't.
no chance you'd have a Jennifer Lopez record behind you. You would have a Sade record behind you.
Now that is correct. I think I only own one Jennifer Lopez record.
Bobby, did you go see Erykah Badu?
I saw Erica many years ago at Ruby Sky in San Francisco, so I did not go see the latest one. Was she just at Golden One?
Yes,
Yeah, last night.
Oh, okay. Did you guys go?
No, wifey went.
Okay. And
it was Tuesday.
I heard it was really good. I saw some video. I mean, she packed out the whole lower bowl and the floor. So
okay,
really good job.
Yeah, I was interested about that.
I was upset about that.
Say what?
You didn't play Next Lifetime.
Ah. Yeah, I was interested to see how she would do in Sacramento. I was surprised to see that they're trying to fill up a whole Golden One with Erykah.
I would say she probably did about 10,000.
Yeah, they did the tarp and
okay,
like a decent crowd was there. There's some good shows, Bobby. We would talk about these later. There's some good shows coming to Northern California.
Bobby gonna be at the fair with me when the Isley Brothers are there, July 22nd.
Isley Brothers, yeah, I would definitely go see the Isley Brothers. I see Raphael Sadiq and the Tonys are coming to Oakland. I'm definitely trying to see that. Yeah. Just saw Earth, Wind and Fire with my dad the other night out at Hard Rock Sacramento, which is in Wheatland. It's not really in Sacramento, but man, they still get it done. They
believe it.
It was a good show, definitely.
And they're musicians like that.
Oh yeah, no,
that's the definition of musicians right there.
Yeah, that's definitely my wheelhouse. Real music by real musicians.
Bobby, we appreciate you, man. Great stuff as always. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
You guys are the best.